We are going to go over the changes to the N.A.R Clear Cooperation Policy. They announced this last week about, maybe it was midweek, I think, is when I started seeing stuff really kind of fly around in the groups. And obviously, we all got some emails. Not sure if you read the emails or not. Not sure if you went through the FAQs that N.A.R put out. I'm going to do kind of a highlight of everything so we can understand what's on the horizon with the listing options your clients are going to have now. So we'll go ahead and just get right into it. So CCP revisions, if you see CCP, what is that referring to? That's clear cooperation policy. So under clear cooperation policy, the listing broker must submit the listing to MLS for cooperation with other MLS participants within 1 business day of marketing a property to the public. So that is the clear cooperation rule. Who is subject to it? All MLS participants and subscribers who participate in a Realtor Association owned MLS. So one of the new options is going to be called an office exclusive. Let me back up real quick. I probably should put this first. This is effective as of the 25th of March. So it was effective a few days ago. However, they're giving the MLSs and boards, primarily the MLSs, to make data field changes and implement this new policy. They need to do that by September. And I have the date in here, I think it's September 30th. So, our MLSs may not have these options yet, but these are going to be coming down here pretty soon. And I'm sure you're going to get some notifications and things like that from your local boards. So look out for those emails so that when you go on your listing appointments, you can, have this conversation with your homeowners about these different options when listing their home. So office exclusive. This will be a new option. This option is an exempt listing where the seller has directed that their property not be decimated through the MLS and not be publicly marketed. The office exclusive listing shall be filed with the MLS, but not disseminated to other MLS participants and subscribers. This means the listing will not be publicly marketed. There is a definition by N.A.R standards of what public marketing means. And I do get this question quite often. So public marketing includes, but is not limited to, flyers displayed on windows, yard signs, digital marketing on public-facing websites, brokerage websites, displays including IDX and VOW, digital communications marketing, meaning email blasts, multi-brokerage listing sharing networks. So that would be maybe you have a private Facebook group or something like that. It includes that. And applications available to the general public. So basically, if the listing is put out into the public in any way, that would be public marketing. So the office exclusive means you cannot do any of these. N.A.R is also clarifying its policy interpretation that one-to-one broker-to-broker communications about listings will not trigger CCP requirements. So maybe you're talking to, one agent at Caravan or something like that. It sounds like that would be okay, but not sending it out to multiple brokerages in an email blast. So do one-to-one broker-to-broker communication trigger the requirement of the clear cooperation? And they're saying that it is not going to trigger that need. So essentially, it's a listing agreement you have, and maybe the client's like, hey, I want you to, go ahead and start marketing my property. I'm going to sign a listing agreement with you, but I don't want it to be an MLS, and we all know that MLS is probably the best source, for soliciting an offer on a listing. I guess not a lot has changed except they're giving it a definition now of an office exclusive. We still can't publicly share that. We can go and talk about it to our sphere and within the brokerage and things like that and try and sell it that way. But in order to do that, you do need to have a listing agreement in place. That is actually a California law that you need a listing agreement in order to even market a property. So that's about it on that one. It's, I guess, pretty simple, office exclusive. Second option is going to be delayed marketing. So this is going to be the other option or another option. This option is an exempt listing where the seller has directed the listing broker to delay the public marketing of that listing through IDX and syndication for a period as allowed by the local MLS in its unfettered discretion. So if you don't know what IDX is, that is, the home search function on any brokerage website or personal website. So if you have a personal website and your consumers and your leads and all that can search for homes on there and you can send them homes, that is an IDX. A delayed marketing listing shall be filed with the MLS and does not preclude the listing firm from marketing the listing in a manner consistent with the seller's choice. I saw a couple of things come into chat real quick. Okay. So now we'll do a little Q&A on this one because this was the one that seems a little more complicated, I guess, with the rules. So is delayed marketing exempt listing the same thing as an office exclusive? It is not. An office exclusive listing is an exempt listing where the seller has directed that their property is not decimated through MLS and is not publicly marketed. So the delayed listing, you will be able to market in certain ways. Who has the authority to decide whether to delay marketing of a listing? A seller must authorize their listing broker to delay marketing of their property. So this is something that you can have a conversation with them about. If this is going to be in your marketing strategy, you need to be able to explain it to them correctly. How long is the delayed marketing window and who determines it? Each MLS has discretion to determine a delayed marketing time period that is most suitable for their local marketplace. This may be similar to whatever your local MLS's rules are for, coming soon statuses and things like that. It might kind of mimic that. We don't know yet. They will let us know, but I'm sharing this with you today to let you know this is coming down the pipeline. It is not available yet in the MLSs though. How is days on market defined? So multiple listing options for sellers policy does not define days on market or require MLSs to track or report time on market information. This is a matter typically addressed with local association business rules. So again, the MLS, their committees are going to determine what will constitute days on market. Will it be during the delayed part? If they're not counting it in the coming soon status, they may mimic that period of time as well. It's tough to say. They may send out, some surveys or something. I encourage you to participate in those if you have an opinion on this stuff, because these are things that affect our daily lives here. So if you see any upcoming meetings or surveys or something like that put up at your local MLS association, I would recommend you fill those out or get involved so that you can help shape this new policy. Does the time period during which a listing's marketing is delayed count towards days on market? And again, each MLS is going to have the discretion to determine whether to track days, time on market information for a delayed marketing exempt listing and how to report it. Is a delayed marketing exempt listing available for other MLS participants and subscribers and their consumers to view and access during the delayed marketing period? So this is, I guess, where it starts to get a little kind of confusing, in my opinion. So yes, a delayed marketing exempt listing will be available to other MLS participants and subscribers through the MLS platform so they can inform their consumers, arrange showings, and or submit offers like other active listings in the MLS. So I guess you can liken that to a coming soon status. Um, can a broker share information about a delayed marketing exempt listing with their consumer during the delayed marketing period? Answer is yes. A delayed marketing exempt listing will still be available to other MLS participants and subscribers through the MLS platform so they can inform their consumers about the property. Can a MLS share delayed marketing exempt listings through a brokerage back office feed or through consumer-oriented vehicles such as an email or a list? Yes, subject to local MLS rules and procedures. A delayed marketing exempt listing can be shared by MLS participants and subscribers through means that are not IDX and syndication, so they can inform their consumers about the property. So it sounds like what we're talking about here is these are not going to be shown on, other office websites and things like that, or syndication to, the major search portals out there. So this is sounding like this is what it's alluding to right here. And again, the rules haven't been defined yet for your local MLS. So if you want to give them your opinion on it, I would suggest getting involved with that and seeing how you can do that. So you can help again shape the policy on this. Can MLS show a delayed market exempt listing on their public facing website? Answer is no on that. MLS's public facing website should be considered syndication. So it'll be available within our MLS with a search function, but not available on major search portals and websites with IDX feeds. Can MLS prohibit showings for delayed marketing exempt listings? No, delayed market exempt listings are considered an active listing. The showings of a delayed marketing exempt listing are subject to the seller's instructions and applicable law. So unlike coming soon, you actually can show these because they are going to be considered an active status listing. So that one for me is the defining difference between coming soon and delayed marketing. So it's available within the MLS. It's not going to be on major search portals or basically anything that's syndicated. So major search portals and websites with IDX. So kind of makes MLS a little more useful for us in this instance. I guess is giving the agents a little bit of control back. We've lost a lot of that over the years with the major search portals. And so this is possibly giving a little bit of power back to MLS members and being able to control some of the data that is put out there. So, because this will be in MLS only. So, looks like we might have had a couple come in. Who comes up with these changes? I think it's also confusing and unnecessary. Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't know. I'm not even a huge fan of clear cooperation policy. Let me make sure the chats are all right too. Sorry, let me just double check here. Will we be able to find this info somewhere after? Yeah, you can just Google. Actually, if you didn't get an email from N.A.R, it's on the N.A.R. You can just type in N.A.R, clear cooperation probably. You'll come to the facts, FAQs sheet that they have that they put out. I think it's a one pager, kind of long. You can go through the whole thing, but they have it readily available on the N.A.R. Know the facts. All right. No, can MLS prohibits. I think we're here. Can MLS prohibit showings for delayed? No, we did that one. So can a seller and listing broker advise or sorry, advertise their delayed marketing exempt listing on other websites, portals, social media, or elsewhere on the internet, in addition to the listing broker's website. Yes, during the delayed marketing period, the home seller and the listing broker can market the listing in any manner that is consistent with the seller's needs and interests, subject to applicable law. This also includes placing yard signs on the property. How is the delayed marketing exempt listing different from the option to opt out of IDX and or syndication? And some people do opt out of that. It's pretty rare. Usually I see them opt out of the VOW where, they don't want their home valuation, um, you know, computed by robots, such as Zestimates and things like that, where they give a potential value of the home. I do see some homeowners opt out of that, and it's actually not a bad idea to do that, especially on a home that's been remodeled or something like that. Um, so under existing policy, a seller could opt out of IDX provided that the property does not appear on the internet or on other forms of electronic display, including display by the listing firm. With a delayed marketing exempt listing, while others will not be able to advertise the property via IDX and syndication, the seller can authorize their listing broker to advertise the property online, such as the listing broker's website or elsewhere. Also, for delayed marketing exempt listings, the listing broker must secure a signed disclosure from the seller documenting the seller's informed consent to waive the benefits of immediate public marketing through IDX and syndication. So the key on this one is IDX feed or not, right? So they're kind of tying everything to IDX and syndication or it not being syndicated, which is usually through the IDX feed. So exempt listing disclosure, the filing of an exempt listing, office exclusive or delayed marketing with the MLS must be pursuant to a certification obtained by the listing broker from the seller, which includes disclosure about the professional relationship between the participant and the seller, acknowledgement that the seller understands the MLS benefits they are waiving or delaying with the exempt listing, such as broad and immediate exposure of their listing through the MLS, and confirmation of the seller's decision that their listing not be publicly marketed and decimated by the MLS as an office exclusive, or that their listing will not have immediate public marketing through IDX and syndication as a delayed marketing listing. Multiple listing options for sellers requirements only apply to listing types that are subject to mandatory submission to MLS local rules. So what does this sound like? Either a modification of a form or a new form is probably on the horizon. They usually update forms and revise forms and give us new forms twice a year. So I imagine we're going to get something new. More than likely, the MLSA is going to get modified in some way. That is part of the listing bundle currently. So my guess is they're probably going to modify that with these two new options here, because you can modify, on market dates and things like that with that, uh, the MLS addendum, MLSA. So my guess is it's going to go in there. Disclosure requirements. Does the disclosure certification have to be included in the filing of a delayed marketing exempt listing? Seller disclosure is required in order to file a delayed marketing exempt listing. Each MLS has discretion on how to enforce their policy and rules, which may or may not include the requirements to file the disclosure form with the MLS. So again, be on the lookout for communication from your local MLS regarding rule changes and new requirements, because they are going to be the enforcers of this, just as they are with, BRBCs and things like that now, the touring agreements. Timeline for implementation, when does it go into effect? it's effective now already, but it must be implemented by September 30th of this year. So more than likely, you do not have this option in your MLS yet. We don't even have a disclosure for it yet that they're requiring. So I imagine that this will be rolling out in the coming months. Could be very soon. I don't know how quickly MLSs are going to work on this. And additionally, car forms. I don't know if they're going to give us an updated form release sooner than later to accompany the rule changes here. When will local MLSs announce the time period for marketing? Again, just look out for communications. They have to do it by this September 30th. With this new policy, a consumer will have the option to market their home as a delayed marketing exempt listing. This means a seller can instruct their listing agent to delay the marketing of their listing by other agents outside the listing firm through IDX or syndication for a period of time. My guess is there's going to be listing agents out there that really understand this and use this as a way to market their listings. A strategy that they're going to come up with, with less syndication out there. Will that open it up for less dual agency, more dual agency? It's kind of tough to say, without having the website posted on third-party sites where, a consumer could reach out to you directly because they saw it on, Realtor.com or something like that. It could lessen the chances, in my opinion, of dual agency, because if it's only in the MLS, plus whatever marketing, that agent's putting out there via social media and whatnot, I think the chances of dual agency actually would probably go down if they're not on the third-party sites in the syndication. So I think that's something to consider. During the delayed marketing period, the home seller and the listing agent can market the listing in a manner consistent with the seller's needs and interests. At the same time, the delayed marketing exempt listing will still be available to other MLS participants through the MLS platform so they can inform their consumers about the property. Each MLS will have discretion to determine a delayed marketing period that is most suitable for their local marketplace. Listing agents representing sellers who choose to delay the public marketing of their listing must secure from the seller a signed disclosure documenting the seller's informed consent to waive the benefits, yada, yada, yada. So again, we don't even have this disclosure yet in a CAR form. So I imagine not much is going to happen with this. We're probably not even going to hear much about it even this upcoming month. So until some things really start getting, moving forward with it. So they had a graphic here kind of explaining how it goes. I'm going to pass through. We went through that stuff. I'm going to wrap up with MLS reporting and why we're going to discuss this real quick. So are violation reports confidential? So when you get a notice from the MLS stating that there's a violation with your MLS input or something like that, chances are another agent actually made that complaint. So I took this information from CRMLS, but most MLSs have similar policy to CRMLS. You'll want to double check with your local association if you do not use CRMLS, but they're one of the biggest, or maybe the biggest in California. And so a lot of other MLSs do kind of follow some of their policy. CRMLS keeps all reports it receives and the results of investigations regarding potential violations strictly confidential from anyone outside of CRMLS or association staff. CRMLS does not share who reported the violation, nor do they share with the reporting party what, if any, citation CRMLS issues to the violating party. So the reporting party information is visible to CR MLS staff in the event the compliance department needs to reach out for additional information or documentation that will help assist with investigation. So if you if you report somebody or if you've been reported, it is a confidential reporting. Nobody's going to know, um, who reported the violation or what happened with it. If it was, you know, if it just went nowhere or if there actually was a violation there. Um, does CRMLS actively monitor listings and search for violations? Most investigations begin with a report another agent sends in. All processed reports come to compliance via the MLS platform, email, or live chat. The compliance analyst encounters an additional violation on a reported listing. The analyst will address all violations associated with the listing together via inquiry emails, warning notices, or citation notices, depending on the violation. CRMLS receives about 3,000 reported violations a month. So those are other realtors reporting to CRMLS of potential violations. Sometimes they do it because they're upset. Sometimes they do it because they're trying to, keep our MLS data preserved and in good integrity. So about 10% of them result in a citation and fine. So there's a lot of what appears to be frivolous reporting out there from other agents. Most reported violations are corrected by the listing agent based on a warning notice. About 20% of the investigations result in the compliance analyst concluding that the listing agent violated no rule. So why are we discussing this? So if you have received a violation notice, you were likely reported by another agent. Agents file MLS violations every day, and your local MLS, they make it easy to do. There is no doubt these new CCP updates will also generate violations from competing agents. So this is why it's important to maybe read back through this, rewatch this webinar, and get a good understanding of how these new ways to market the property will fall into your business. So be sure you understand the rules and have proper documentation in the event you need to produce documents to the MLS analyst for compliance review in the event you receive a complaint. They will ask for a listing agreement, modifications, and you need to make sure that you have all of that and that it is complete and signed properly, all dates proper, because if you backpedal, if you don't have it and you start backdating things for one thing, that's considered fraud. You should never backdate a document. And for two, it's only going to make your MLS violation worse. So be sure that your paperwork is straight. You're filling out that MLSA form properly, showing when, which way the consumer is wanting their home marketed and what days they're going to go active in the market, so on and so forth. Again, they haven't made that change yet, but this is just a reminder that we need to make sure that our paperwork is straight because MLS does ask for this stuff. And you can see, I just took some screenshots here. This is on essentially the homepage of CRMLS. Report off MLS marketing. So you have a sign up in a neighborhood, it's not on MLS or something like that. Boom, someone could just go and report that because technically it's being marketed without a listing agreement potentially. So at least that's what that agent's probably going to be reporting. Right on the home page, as you log into MLS, you can see they have it again, report off MLS marketing. This is on the actual MLS sheet itself. Down at the bottom, this is where they can report violations, especially of photos. That's a big one. That's an expensive one. That is an automatic fine. I'm actually going to click through this real quick. So Violations that do not require a warning. And I'm not going to go through all of these because there's a lot of them. But this is when someone reports you or the MLS comes across it, the analyst team, but more than likely someone has reported you and you're not going to get a warning. They're just going to assess a fine automatically. So failure to obtain written authorization for changes to a listing agreement, $500 right there. So someone reports that, maybe even the consumer reports it, automatic fine of 500. Um, withdrawal of listing prior to expiring, 250. I mean, let's look at some of these bigger ones. Offering or conveying buyer's agent compensation in the MLS. If you put compensation in the MLS at all, $2,500 is the fine, and that's no joke. Insufficient disclosure of compensation to seller landlord. So failing to adequately provide compensation information to clients is a very serious issue, as evidenced by recent legal decisions in our industry, could have serious consequences for all involved. Therefore, a higher fine is imposed and warning is not the appropriate process for this violation. So, that could definitely be something coming from the consumer there. So we really need to be explaining how compensation works as good as possible. And again, I talked about it before, use the forms that we have. I think I went over that last week, or maybe the week before. Use the forms we have to explain how the compensation works. Expiration, extension, and renewal of listing, 250. Disclosure of listing broker's compensation. Again, don't put any compensation in the MLS. Just steer clear of it. Failure to obtain seller's authorization to list in the MLS, $1,500 fine. And that's also against California law as well. So if you have a listing in MLS and you don't have a listing agreement to have that listing in MLS, and someone reports you, that's an automatic $1,500 fine. I mean, you can see all of these. There's tons of them. Showing listed property without written compensation agreement with buyer. Insufficient compensation agreement with buyer, $2,500 fine. So if someone reports you for showing a property without a buyer rep agreement in place, or PSRA, property showing agreement, and you can't produce that for MLS, if they send you a violation notice, they're going to assess $2,500 to you. So this is why, so important to have this up front and to have these conversations with your clients. This is a norm in the industry now. We haven't gotten a ton of pushback. I know, we do from some buyers here and there, but do you want to pay a $2,500 fine, or, explain to the buyer how this works? And you can use this as well as part of, why you're having this signed. If you're having a hard time, even after you've explained your value and everything else to the client, well, here's another good reason. You could receive a $2,500 fine for showing this property without a compensation agreement in place. Failure to be present when providing access to a listed property, $1,500 fine. Let's see, we got a couple in the chat. You may be able to dispute the charge, and we may do a hearing to determine if there was a violation. Correct. I would always dispute it, but if you can't produce the documentation, it's going to be probably an uphill battle for you. And the previous question, do they disclose who reported the violation? No, none of these. They are all confidential. So while you may have a hunch of who reported you, it is confidential. So let's see, any other big ones in here? Use of media without prior authorization. So using photos, videos, drone shots, anything like that without prior written authorization, automatic $1,500 fine. Improper subsequent use of media, same thing, $1,500. Make sure you have the right to use those photos, because that is a hefty fine to pay if you are using photos from a previous listing or something like that. if a homeowner provides you with photos, you need to have a written agreement actually with that homeowner stating that they authorize you to use those photos. Because for one thing, you don't know where they got those photos from. You don't know if they took them, if the previous agent at some point took them and gave them to him or her. So make sure you know where the photos have come from. Let's see, I have a couple more in the chat here. Does that apply if you are the listing agent? Do you need a buyer agreement to show your own listing to a buyer call? No, you do not. That is working on behalf of the seller at that point, and you do not need to have a buyer rep agreement until the point where the buyer starts trying to negotiate with you. And if they do not have an agent representing them at that time, that is when you would put in the buyer rep agreement. Just say, look, if you're going to be represented by me, I now need to have this buyer rep agreement with you to discuss this further and to make an offer. Once you start working with the defined working with them, is when you need to put that in. But showing a home to a sign call or something like that, you're working on behalf of the seller at that moment if it is your listing. So you do not. Um, Also, usually be given a chance to correct the situation. That's correct. All right. When hosting an open house, do you need a buyer's agreement? Nope, same thing. You are working on behalf of the seller at that point. I would recommend if you have a concern about it using the the Ohana form, OHANA, I think it is, or OHONA, Ohana, use that one. That's the form you'll want to use. It's a sign-in sheet essentially for everybody coming into the home. It's a pretty good barrier, in my opinion, for getting people to actually put in information and for them to state if they are or are not actually working with an agent currently as they are entering your open house. So you'll know how to act accordingly. If they are unrepresented, or at least they're stating that, yeah, you can turn them into a client or attempt to turn them into a client at that point, and you would need to put the buyer rep agreement in place as you proceed with that relationship. Let me check the Q&A. We got things coming in two different areas here. Open houses, you just answered my question. Okay, good, perfect. So yeah, that's about that. I do have, if you want a copy of this PDF, the direct link over to and this is the CR MLS site we're looking at right now. Everybody's MLS has something like this. CR MLS put this into a nice little PDF for us. Violations that do not require a warning. They got a bunch of PDFs there. You can see all these PDFs that they have. But this is how they assess the fines. And you can see there's a lot of big ones in here. So this one right here, unauthorized interest into a listed property, unauthorized access to lockbox. We had one of our agents get hit with that one time where they gave out the combo code to a client, and I imagine they're never going to do that again. So definitely don't ever do that. Unauthorized sharing the lockbox key. That's kind of a tough one these days because it's all on our phone, but I guess that could happen. So, look through this stuff, familiarize yourself with it, because yeah, you don't want to get caught with one of these fines here. So let me go over to